Hi, this is Doug Bradley. You'll know me as Pinhead from the Hellraiser movies. You're listening to Nightwatch. You'd better keep listening to Nightwatch, or I will tear your soul apart.
Listen. Hinges creak in doorless chambers, and strange and frightening sounds echo through the halls. Whenever candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight. There's no turning back now.
Just after sundown, when darkness creeps over the land, the dark figures lurk in the shadows, the fangs glisten in the moonlight, and the ghosts of the world become restless. We begin our journey. Join us as we travel into the world of the paranormal, the supernatural, and the bizarre. On Nightwatch with your hosts Todd Sheets, Chris Weisbach, and Hugh McClanahan. Nightwatch.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Oh yes, be afraid. It's the Festival of Fear right here on Nightwatch. I'm your host as always, Todd Sheets, here with my co-host Hugh McClanahan.
Oh yeah.
And Chris Weisbach.
I'm afraid.
You should be afraid. And thank
Very
you,
afraid.
Chris. You made it. You made it in. You were way out in the middle of nowhere, and I was worried that you would
Literally nowhere.
You really were. And then you fought through hell and the devil, and you got here, man.
I'm here.
You've been through it all.
That's what co-hosts do.
Yeah.
They make it to the show.
That's right. That's right. Every once in a while, right?
Right.
Well, I can't say that they know my brother.
And Johnny Reed is here with us.
Greetings.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing good.
Good. And here for the whole show with us, and we're going to talk more to him on the second half for sure. Alan Kaiser's here with us.
Hi, everybody.
The Bradster.
Yeah.
The Bradster's in the house, ladies and gentlemen. You don't know what'll happen.
Yes, sir. You never know what happens when you party with the Bradster.
That's right. That's what I've heard. What's with the attire, Tweaky? I feel like I'm stepped into South Central.
No, that's 80s.
Just don't even
It changes every day.
Saved by the Bell.
Oh, wow.
80s, 90s.
Wow. There we go.
I like it.
Well, I am excited because tonight we're going to celebrate a true phenomena. I mean, I remember when it first came out, and I'm talking about a series of films here. The word of mouth had spread all over the country before we got to see this fantastic movie. And I wasn't a Blair Witch fan. I never liked the Blair Witch because I felt like I sat through like an hour and a half to see a guy pee in a corner. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But
that was the scary part.
that was
the
terrible.
Bradster.
It was the scary part.
Was that
That's
you,
right.
dude?
That was him. And exactly, that's what it was. I would rather see that. So when people were comparing this new phenomena to the Blair Witch, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So I went and watched it, thinking, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. Man, this movie is so much better than Blair Witch and took things into a new direction. And it was the Paranormal Activity series, and I fell in love with it. I thought it was a really neat concept, and of course, since then there's been like 9 million imitators.
Yeah.
Every week at the video store, there's 2 things you can be sure of. There's going to be a found footage or a surveillance footage ghost movie and a zombie movie. Okay, and the thing is, none of them have done what this series can do. I mean, you rent them, you take them home, and you're like, But these guys, they get it right, and they get it right every time. And the last two, Paranormal 3 and Paranormal Activity 4, were directed by Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman. And Henry is here with us, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, Henry.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you here, man, because you're right up there, man. You guys have got a great concept going, and you do an amazing job. Not only that, I mean, I know, people probably know you from Catfish, which was also fantastic, but for me, I'm a horror movie guy. And so if you can scare people, and when I tell you this is a phenomenon, I'm not kidding, because every time there's a premiere, man, people are lined up for hours. This thing is sold out, and you move an entire audience collectively at once. It's like everyone in the audience gets jolted with electricity at exactly the same time. How does it feel to be part of such an amazing cultural event?
There's nothing more fun for us than going to a Paranormal Activity screening, of one of the movies that we directed. It's like the most fulfilling thing you can possibly imagine as a filmmaker, because we make these things and we're like, I'm pretty sure this part's scary, or maybe we held on this shot a little bit too long. But when you're in the theater and you get that instant reaction from the audience and they start screaming like they're on a roller coaster, it's just like, it's so fulfilling. It's so much fun. And I saw the first one in the theater, and I think I watched the second one at home, which are totally different experiences. But I'm just into this, that it's a group experience. And I think that there aren't a lot of movies like that right now anymore.
I agree.
No, did you have any paranormal experience before doing 3 and 4?
Not really. I mean, I guess I got some weird vibes in old houses and stuff like that, but nothing certainly no proof.
Because the reason we're asking is, it seems like watching the series, and especially the last two, where you took it in such new directions, it seems like it was definitely done by people who kind of were in tune with what goes on in the paranormal out there and what you read and see. And I mean, so you guys must have done some research on this, and the way that you've gone about it, like you said, it's all about timing and also about authenticity. And it seems like you guys really put some research into it.
Yeah, we do a lot of research, and we talked to some amazing people, mediums and kind of experts in the occult and stuff like that. And but I think most of all, it's just it's all about tapping into those kind of elemental fears that we can all relate to, and Rael and I are always joking that we're just trying to ruin these normal experiences for people. We want you to be scared now every time you go into your kitchen, or Oren Peli did this in the first movie, which is I guess everybody wonders what happens when you're sleeping. That's the scariest thing. You're asleep, you're totally vulnerable, and there's something creeping up on you. There's something under your covers. That's a very basic childhood fear, And I think it's just remembering what those basic fears are that helps us come up with scares in these movies.
The amount of scares kind of get amplified. The first movie had its share of scares, of course. It was great. I thought the cast was incredible. It seemed very realistic to me. It seemed like I was watching real people doing real things. So by the time I got to the second one, they were amping up the scares a little more. But I tell you what, when the third one came and you had all that crazy cult of doom chasing people around and all this cool stuff going on, and I hope people have seen the third one by now. If not, spoiler alert, too late, because it's one of those things that, I mean, where have you been hiding? What rock have you been under if you haven't seen the third one? But man, the cult thing come in, and I tell you what, people were just screaming, and you had crazy stuff going on every 5 seconds, and oh my God, it was intense. And this new one is even along those same lines, even more intense. I mean, it's there were those quiet moments in the first two where you would be watching a camera flicker through its routine for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, all of a sudden, bam, you get nailed. Man, the last two, it seems like a lot less of that kind of time going on before something will hit you in the face.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think you have to sort of step it up in each installment. And this one, we wanted to make it the challenge, of course, is to make it unpredictable, because that's what's scary. So you have sequences where you're sure it's leading up to a scare, and then nothing happens, and then the scare comes out of nowhere. The last place you'd expect it to come from, and that's the fun of it. It's how can we distract you here so you're not expecting the scare to come from the other direction? That's it's like really fun stuff to do as a filmmaker.
And it builds up so nicely in these movies. I mean, you get to a point where you just know, that it's going to get stepped up, and you're not quite sure when, but that whole scene in number 3 where the camera would be going back and forth between the two rooms, you knew. You didn't know when, but you knew, something bad was going to happen. So.
Oh, yeah, and of course the rumble.
Yeah.
You start getting that rumble. You guys really use sound design to your advantage, and the rumble starts coming in, and everybody starts getting really freaked out, and you're like, okay.
Fancy.
Is the camera going to pan 3 times before it all goes to hell, or is it going to be 15 times?
You don't know.
And it works. It works.
Now, do you hide any of the things that are going to happen from the actors as well to have more effect, or do they know well in advance what's going to happen?
Sometimes. I mean, some of our actors are like incredibly good sports about it, but because they're like constantly on edge, because they don't know when we're going to surprise them, which we do a lot. Sometimes like you're just not getting it, and the special effects guy, like, he works on a 3 count, so you're just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then this, crazy stuff is going to happen. And then between takes we go and we whisper to the special effects guy, we're like, well, let's do it on 2 this time. Don't do it on 3. And just the actors come and hit us afterwards, It's like, but that's where you get the real responses. Like usually take 1 is the best one because that's the realest reaction.
Yeah.
I have to agree because, in all honesty, I was going to compliment the acting in these movies because of the naturalistic tone. I mean, a lot of times you watch these movies and you're watching actors, but the thing about Paranormal Activity is you absolutely have to sell the fact that these are just normal, everyday people that aren't acting at all and are going about a regular routine. And the hardest thing, I think, for an actor, and Alan, you could probably chime in on this, is to not just act naturalistic, but act like you're not acting at all, just like you're hanging out at home.
It's hard to act like you're not acting. It's the most difficult. I think the hardest thing is to play oneself. I mean, to just be yourself. And I think in a horror film, you're not really playing a character. You're just playing yourself. You're playing an average Joe, everyday person, and here it comes.
That's right.
And you react to it on 3 or 2, as
apparently, or whatever they decide. Mm-hmm. I know in the first one, Katie, I don't think any of them in that first one had no idea, but she has gone on to become like a new horror icon. And it's kind of neat to see Katie in that. Don't you think that's great to see her in that role now?
Yeah, it's so funny because Katie's like, Katie's like you said, she's an icon, horror icon now. And she's in real life, she's the nicest girl in the world. She's just like this sweet girl from Texas. But I still, sometimes on set, you look over and you catch Katie out of the corner of your eye, and like, I feel terror in my heart, for a split second before I realize I'm like, oh yeah, right, that's Katie. She's an actress, because like Katie is so associated with being this demon now, in everybody's minds.
Yeah, just like flying out of nowhere and knocking you 35 feet into the air. Yeah, that's the kind of thing.
What a nice girl.
She goes through a drive-thru and people are just like closing the windows. And the thing is, this thing is huge overseas. I guess this thing is just like, the news came in, I know just like an hour ago, that this thing has become like a big deal overseas.
Yeah, it's like breaking records overseas, which is great. And they do these really creative screenings. I was reading about, where they have, they'll have like a shaman come in and bless the movie theater before it plays, and like the Paramount just really does these like wild things that I think everyone enjoys. They just turn it into an experience, which is what it should be.
I agree. We needed a shaman to come in and bless our theaters every time I see them, because the audience, it gets scarier and scarier. The audience is so loud sometimes for these movies. I mean, they're just so rowdy. And then, I mean, you can hear them. They're just screaming at the screen, "Don't be going in there," and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, bam, that first scare, you can hear a pin drop. The rest of the movie is quiet.
And that's the big draw. I mean, that's what people want. That's what people want. They want to be scared,
They do. And this has become the thing to do on Halloween now every year. So I guess my next question is, what's the word on 5?
Well, I don't know. That's kind of up to it's mostly up to the fans, It's like we've always believed that this is a fan driven movie, and if the fans want it, if they want more, there's certainly more story where that came from. Everybody's got this, everybody works on the movie, us and the writer and everybody at the studio has this sort of elaborate plot line of where it could go and how everything ties together. But I don't think that will be enabled until it's demanded.
Well, you've got at least 5 votes here.
Yeah, we're ready.
You guys are ready?
Oh yeah, we're ready. And the thing I like about it is because in the first one, we didn't really see. We saw a couple of things where someone got drug out of bed or this or that. Maybe the little baby, got picked up a couple times in some of the past ones. But the thing was, you didn't see quite as much violence as let's talk about the end of the third one because we don't want to give away anything about the new one. But the end of the third one, people are getting cracked in half. There's stuff flying around.
Yeah.
Someone just turned this up to 11, and I think that's what we're talking about with that amped up thing. So I can only imagine by the end of it what's going to be going on. You're going to be like in Trump Tower.
You should write that up and pitch it.
We'll do a treatment. We'll just send it on in there.
Yeah. So Paranormal 5, Katie grows to Godzilla size, and she's terrorizing Trump Tower.
That's right. And Donald's trying to tell her she's fired, but she doesn't seem to care.
She has to wear a tank top and shorts, though.
Yeah, she has to still have the same. Yes.
The bloody tank top. It's like a bloody tank top and boxer shorts.
Man, I just love it, man. So whenever you guys screen this thing, and I know you have to screen it in advance because then you put out the commercials. One of the things I like about the Paranormal Activity series is, and for the first time actually, because when I first saw the first one and they showed the preview was basically an audience. We were watching an audience watching this movie, and I thought, oh no, that's because most of the time when you see that, let's be honest, you get to the movie theater and you're like. Because it isn't anything like that. But with you guys, it really was. So that was kind of cool to be able to say, I can see where the audience was doing that. It's exactly right.
We literally watch the tape of the audience reaction because we have the full tape of the whole movie, right? And we watch it side by side with the movie, so we can see how people are reacting, in sync with the movie, and that's how we figure out the scare is not totally working, or maybe we should extend this part or switch this cut around and stuff like that. So it's great for marketing, but it's also really informative for us figuring out what's working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's a neat point because I did notice on the third one, there were parts in the trailer that I didn't see in the movie, and then the Blu-ray came out, and there were parts on the Blu-ray that we didn't see that were new, and then also parts that were different. And it's kind of a whole different thing. And some of the stuff I still haven't seen that was in that trailer. So when are we going to get the full 9-hour director cut is what I want to know.
That's a good question. I don't know. So a lot of that is because we shoot the movie in such a crazy way and on such an accelerated time schedule that when the marketing people are cutting the trailer, like last year on 3, all that stuff was in the movie when they made the trailer, but by the time the movie came out, it wasn't in the movie anymore. The movie is it's that fluid. It's changing that much every day. You can come back to us a week later and it's completely different. I can't imagine there's a movie that is faster than this movie because it's start to finish 6 months from script to release in the theater.
Wow, that is quick.
Which is nuts.
It is. That's unbelievable because the editing process alone, and that's kind of one of the cool things about these movies is the creative process of editing because of the fact of the format that you're using, the found footage, the different cameras. You can really play with that editing a lot. I think that'd be fun.
I like how the technology keeps kind of increasing throughout the movies. You start off with VCR or whatever, and you go to the handheld cameras, and
now it's the cell phones.
Well, now I think it's even you kind of delved into the video game realm a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. With the
we've got Xbox Connect and webcams.
Yeah,
in this movie.
That's cool.
Now my son is addicted to Xbox Connect, so I'm hoping if I take him to this, maybe I'll wean him off. Is that a possibility?
I will never use one again.
I couldn't believe that they do that.
I didn't know, or I would have been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, but now I'm wondering. So, if you sit around with an infrared camera in your house, Chris,
I do,
and you've got that that whatever it is, what is it?
It's
Connect,
Xbox.
Xbox Connect, right?
Uh-huh.
You put that on, and you start seeing weird things moving through those laser dots.
Right.
Then you move.
Yeah, well, it's like what got us really fired up about that idea was it's this thing that we had one in our house when we were shooting, and lots of people have them in their houses, but I think most people don't know how they work. We certainly didn't know that that's the way they worked, and you're projecting this grid of infrared dots that it's like totally invisible to the naked eye, but if you get the right camera, there's kind of this other world underneath what you're seeing, which is such a cool concept, and the fact that these dots pick up a little bit on the activity is so scary.
That really is scary, and the fact that just subtle things can be going on with these things in the left and the right side of your screen, and if you're not paying attention, then you won't even notice it. But if you're paying attention, you see these little things moving around back there, and you're like, oh, that can't be good.
They're very ingenious to get that implemented into the movie.
Yeah, very good.
I see a product coming out for paranormal investigators. It's the Paranormal Activity 4 grid thingy.
Yeah.
and it will sell. It will sell.
Will it say grid thingy on the box? That's what I want to know.
But it would sell, for paranormal investigators.
You could put Paranormal Activity on anything now and it'll sell. You could have like granola bars with Paranormal Activity and it would sell. That's just what's going on. It's one of those things now. I mean, you have made those words like a worldwide phenomenon, man, and that's just pretty cool. Paramount seems to take chances on things like this, and I give them credit for that because way back in the day, they took credit on little movies like Friday the 13th, and that was a look what happened there. That became a worldwide phenomenon too. So it's kind of a long history with Paramount of taking an indie film or a low budget horror film and turning it into a smash success, and I think their marketing people were a big part of that the first film getting so much press. I think it really was pretty neat.
Yeah, the marketing's really, really brilliant on these movies, and also I think that we have to give credit to Oren who came up with this concept and just sort of this new set of principles for horror movies, which are like very back to basics, very simple. Just the idea that what the audience is imagining is much scarier than anything we could put on screen, the filmmaker could put on screen, and that's kind of old school. And the fact that you're that in this movie you can hold on to the shot for 2 minutes without anything happening. It's like, what other movie can you do that in? Except for Breaking the Waves by Lars von Trier, or it's like these are mainstream scary movies that use these sort of old techniques and just get really back to basic, in terms of suspense.
I wanted to talk about Catfish for a minute because I actually watched that and I wish that would have a bigger release.
She eats that everywhere she goes.
Oh, I really liked Catfish and I wish there was more publicity on it and things because it's a really great film about, social networking and deception on online dating and things like that. And I have a 9-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and I made them sit down and watch it. Because I believe that should be on PBS because I know all kinds of people who've done that online dating thing and and it's just nothing. It's just like your movie Catfish, and I think everyone should watch that, and I really want to tell you what a great job you guys did on that.
Oh, thank you.
You're here.
Yeah, I think that was we really wanted that to be a conversation starter, and I think that it's sort of everyone's using computers and the internet increasingly as a replacement for face-to-face communication, and we really just need to all be thinking about that as we're doing it. Not that it's necessarily bad, but you have to think about who am I talking to and what are the consequences and what part of my life am I giving up by existing more and more online. We actually are turning Catfish into a TV show on MTV that comes out in a couple weeks. I think on November 10th or 11th.
Well, good.
And it's it's an episodic show where Neve, Rel's brother, who's the subject of Catfish, goes around the country and he finds people who are in online relationships but have never met in real life, and he goes and he meets one of them. And he gets to know them and why they're in love and everything, and then he says, okay, are you ready to meet this person for the first time? And he travels with them to meet their online lover.
Wow.
And we were a little skeptical. At first we were just like, I don't know, can this really be duplicated? Because what happened in Catfish was so wild and revealed so much about everything, but they went out and shot the pilot, and it happens every time, and every week on the show it's different. It's really wild. Like sometimes it's happy endings, sometimes it's not, but it's always interesting, and it's always some incredible characters.
Wow, that's cool. That's a neat idea, and I think
we're really excited about it.
Could get kind of scary though, man. That could be wow, frightening at the same time. I mean, that could be a horror movie all on its own right there.
Sometimes it is.
But it's great you're showing it to your kids.
Yeah,
I think it's great you're showing it to your kids because
it
really is something that.
And so often it is. I mean, you hear every day about people getting in situations where you want to meet this person,
Yep, and then the next thing you know, you're on Dateline NBC. It's not even it's
really you're shoved in a barrel.
That's right. Like in the third one, we were introduced to this cult, and I'm wondering, is it a cult or is it a coven of witches? Some people say it's a coven of witches. Some people say it's a cult. I think it's got to be kind of something to do with witches because it's all females, right?
Yeah, it's a coven.
Okay, so it is a coven. Wow. It was a prequel, the number 3 was, but it was also, it's kind of weird how you did the time on that one because it kind of went all over the place, I thought. It was a prequel, then it was back in modern times, and the new one is back in today's time, but it's tied in so well with the third one. It's almost like, you guys really had your work cut out for you to keep extending this. Like you said, it was such a simple idea. Here's a couple of people, here's a ghost. But then it's been extended to this mythology now that is just like, wow. And you have to really keep going, and the creativity involved in moving this into a new realm while still keeping it based in this surveillance footage universe. That can't be easy.
No, and just making it creepier and creepier. And the funny thing is that all this expansion of the story is based on these, if you go back and watch Paranormal 1, there's like a few lines of improvised dialogue that basically informs the whole direction of the franchise, and also in Paranormal 2, where she's like, we shouldn't talk about this, you don't want to end up like Mom.
Right.
Or she talks about like, oh, my house burned down, a long time ago and stuff like that I thought I lost this photo in the fire, and it's like those little details, those little dialogue lines that Katie made up basically inform the direction of the series.
I know now there's probably more scripting going on because the direction has turned into the mythology is bigger now, but how much of it is improvised? Is there still quite a bit of it improvised, or is it all pretty meticulously scripted now?
It's a little bit of both. There's a lot of improvised stuff, and we really look for, we have these great actors and we really try to find actors who are good at improvising and can just sort of roll with it in general, in terms of us scaring them on set and going through this crazy process. But a lot of times the scene will be, we know what the beginning and the end of the scene is, or we know what the important information is that we have to get across, but the actors are making up the dialogue, or they're moving through the house and deciding where to go, and sometimes we'll shoot a scene, a few takes, and then we'll just completely switch it around, and those are a lot of the best scenes in the film, I think, are the ones that are just totally spontaneous.
Yeah, it's probably a lot more natural when it's improvised.
Yeah.
And I know you're a busy man, Henry. I want to thank you so much for taking time out and being here with us on Nightwatch. We celebrate your film series and we celebrate your creativity, and we hope that you stick around and do us another movie. That's what we're hoping.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys. That was very fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you have a wonderful evening, my friend.
Good night.
You too.
Take care.
Well,
they're doing good.
Yeah, look at Blair Witch, right? It cost what, $10 to make that movie?
Absolutely.
I think 35 cents.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what it made, but it was more than $10.
I think the 35 cents went to pay the Bradster to pee in the corner. That's the entire budget.
For me, that was scary.
That was the scary part. I used to be afraid to go in my kitchen because I thought some dude would be standing in the corner.
I mean, you're like, what's he doing?
He's peeing.
He wasn't peeing.
The scariest part for me was the girl's nose running into the camera the whole time. Right. I mean, that was like too much.
Right. Well, this is much better than
now. But when you're watching these movies, I remember, everyone's, Katie's in there and she's a normal-looking girl, and everyone's like, "Hey, man, she's pretty cool." And you hear guys, and like when she goes all evil and her teeth go flaring out, all of a sudden you hear this.
That hoe is so ugly she can scare a hungry bulldog off the back of a meat truck.
And that's scary.
That is scary.
With
Lord
you.
help us. Yeah. Well, I have an announcement to make, and it's neat that you said with you, because I introduced you to somebody back when we were young. We went to school
Did I marry
together.
this person?
No.
Okay.
That's funny.
There's
Even
been a
though
few,
that
so I had
did-
to ask.
Yeah, that did happen with about half the people I introduced you to. But this, I introduced you to this person, and they're going to be on our show. And I have to make an announcement for our Halloween spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking King Diamond. Yeah, King Diamond. You remember when I introduced you to King
Oh, yeah.
Diamond?
Yeah. Kind of scared, actually.
Yeah, your eyes were glazed over. You're glassy, and you were like not sure about it. That's what was cool about it. Here you are. You've got a fish named Asmodeus and black candles in your room, and you're scared of King Diamond.
We're spinning Led Zeppelin albums backwards. And, Todd, I don't know if I can listen to this.
I know. It was like, and the funny part is, I'm sure King Diamond would have been scared of you.
Warning! Godzilla versus the Thing, a shattering motion picture not for the weak of heart. Here in all its astounding realism is a soul-shocking experience. How much terror can you stand? What was this thing of unbelievable and unequaled terror that challenged Godzilla to a battle of unhuman strength versus supernatural evil? Godzilla versus the Thing. See the war of the giants. See the birth of the world's most terrifying monster. See armies of the world destroyed by the Thing. The producers of Godzilla vs. the Thing issue warning to those who cannot take its full horror. To you with guts, you must see Godzilla vs. the Thing from the beginning in color scope from American International.
Hey, this is Brian O'Halloran. You might know me from such films as Clerks, Clerks 2, Vulgar, Brutal Massacre. Yeah, anyway, I'm not even supposed to be here tonight, but you know what? You are, because you're listening to the Nightwatch.